It starts on a night your body still remembers. Air tastes like metal. A door slams somewhere down the hallway, and the house freezes into silence so sharp it hums. You stand barefoot on the kitchen tiles, a boy in an oversized t-shirt, holding your breath like it's the last thing that's still under your control. The light flickers, the milk is gone. Your sister's eyes search yours for safety, and you fake a smile that feels like lifting a car. You whisper, "It's okay," even though it isn't. You become the calm in a storm you never created. You become the adult before you ever got to be a child. And that's how it begins. The quiet contract you never signed. Protect everyone. Feel nothing and survive at all costs. But every contract has its fine print. You just didn't know yours would cost you yourself. They call it parentification, when a child becomes the caretaker, the emotional spine of a collapsing family. You didn't just grow up, you stepped in. The brain adapts like water poured into a cracked glass. It fills the shape of what's missing. You learn to anticipate anger before it rose, to soothe chaos before it caught fire. That's hypervigilance, a survival reflex masquerading as intuition. It feels like power, but it's really fear wearing a clever disguise. You became fluent in moods, fluent in silence, fluent in pretending. Your nervous system learned to treat love like a minefield. Step carefully or it explodes. Maybe you still live by those rules. Maybe your shoulders tighten in rooms that feel too quiet. Maybe you find yourself saying, "I'm fine," while your throat burns with unshed truth. Maybe you feel guilty when you rest, as if peace must be earned. Maybe you hold your breath when someone else sighs, bracing for impact that never comes. Maybe you fall for people who need fixing, because it feels like home. Maybe you confuse exhaustion with purpose, anxiety with alertness, calm with danger. And maybe you've spent years becoming indispensable, terrified of what would happen if you stopped. But that's not who you are. That's who you became to survive. You weren't born a rescuer, you were trained. Back then, it was genius. That control wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Your sensitivity was a radar. Your silence, armor. You read the room before the room even spoke. That instinct made you safe then. But what protected you once now keeps you small. The vigilance that kept you alive now keeps you lonely. The empathy that soothed others now drains you. The competence that earned praise now erases you. You became the person everyone could lean on, until you forgot what it feels like to lean. Imagine wearing a mask made of mirrors. You see everyone's reflection, but never your own. You adjust your face to fit their needs, their moods, their expectations. At first, it's brilliance. Adaptation is art. But over time, the mask fuses to your skin. Every compliment on your maturity hardens it. Every "you're so strong" becomes another invisible chain. People love the version of you that never breaks, never asks, never falters. They love the mask, and you, terrified of being unloved, keep polishing it. You call it responsibility. But really, it's disappearance. Here's the cruel paradox. The world rewards the wound. It celebrates this competence born from pure neglect. It claps for the child who never complains, never fails, never needs. You become addicted to being the one who never falters, because faltering once meant danger. But that kind of perfection is sterile. It's a prison with clean walls and no windows. And behind those walls, your inner child is still there, small, wide-eyed, waiting for someone to finally notice him. Listen, there's a way back, not to who you were, but to who you never got to be. Step 1, witness. You can't heal what you won't see. When you catch yourself scanning for danger in a safe room, pause. Say quietly, "I see you." That's the language the body understands. Step 2, separate. Ask yourself, whose emotion is this? Not every storm is yours to calm. You learn to absorb everyone's chaos, but you can learn to return it. Step 3, reprint. Give yourself what you once gave others. Cook for yourself like you would for a frightened child. Speak to yourself the way you once wished someone had spoken to you. Soft, steady, without expectation. Step 4, reclaim joy, do something badly on purpose, color outside the lines, dance without rhythm, rest without guilt. That's not regression, it's rebellion. Step 5, receive. Let someone love you without earning it. Let a friend see your mess. Let help. The nervous system learns safety through repetition, not reasoning. It's not linear. Some days you'll regress. Some nights the old alarms will still go off. But that's not failure. That's proof you're finally touching the parts of you that froze. Ask yourself, what does love feel like when it's not attached to duty? Who are you when you're not the strong one? When did you first decide that your feelings were dangerous? What if you stopped fixing everyone else and started listening to the quiet inside your own chest? And deeper still, what if nothing was wrong with you at all? Say it, even if it trembles. I'm allowed to rest. I'm allowed to be cared for. I'm allowed to take up space. I'm allowed to be slow. But right after you whisper those words, another voice rises, the sentinel inside you. The one that says, if you stop holding everything together, everything will fall apart. That voice is ancient. It sounds like logic, like loyalty, like safety. It isn't. It's fear wearing your father's tone. It's guilt disguised as virtue. And yet you hesitate to let it go, because who are you without it? Maybe this is the moment the conflict breaks open. The adult in you finally meets the child you buried. The part that built the mask meets the part that still longs to be held. It's not a conversation, it's a reunion. And it's terrifying, because once you look that child in the eyes, you can't unsee him. You can't unhear what he's been waiting to say. He doesn't want your strength, he wants your softness. He doesn't need you to fix him, he just needs you to stay. And as you stand there, somewhere between then and now, you realize that growing up too fast wasn't the real wound. The real wound was never being allowed to slow down. You've been sprinting through life, outrunning the silence, terrified that stillness would bring collapse. But what if the collapse is the beginning? What if falling apart is just the nervous system exhaling for the first time in years? You feel it now, the shaking, the release, the grief that doesn't fit into words. It's not weakness, it's thawing. The ice that held your emotions together begins to crack. The flood comes, not to drown you, but to cleanse you. You remember laughter, not polite laughter, but the kind that starts in the belly and ends in tears. You remember wonder. You remember what it feels like not to know, not to control, not to predict. You remember being alive. But before the peace comes, there's fear, because every system resists change. The part of you built on duty won't surrender easily. It will whisper, you'll lose everyone if you stop performing. It will say, they only love you because you give so much. It will scream, don't let go, and you'll almost listen. You'll almost retreat. But something small, a heartbeat, a breath, a memory, pushes back. A quiet knowing rises. You've already lost more of yourself by holding on than you ever will by letting go. And then, silence, not emptiness. Space. For the first time, the mask feels heavy in your hands. You wonder what your real face looks like underneath. You trace the outline of it with trembling fingers, afraid and curious at once. And just before you remove it, right there in that heartbeat between fear and freedom, you understand, maybe the question was never, how do I grow up? Maybe it was, how do I finally stop? Because the boy who grew up too fast never really grew at all. He paused himself in time, waiting for the world to catch up. And now that it has, maybe the story isn't about becoming someone new, but remembering the one who was never allowed to be. You feel it, the pull, the edge, the breath before transformation. And just as you reach for the truth, just as you begin to take off the mask, you hear that small, forgotten voice again. Soft, certain, timeless. It says you don't have to be strong anymore. And right there, in that exhale between survival and self, is where everything you've ever known starts to unravel. And exactly there is where we'll continue next time.